Admiral Zixathera had seen countless species fall before the might of the hegemony. The tentacled commander's bioluminescent patches flickered with amusement as she reviewed the intelligence reports on humanity's latest colony world, Terra Nova. These bipedal mammals had spread across 12 systems in less than 2 centuries. Impressive for such a young species, but ultimately irrelevant. They possess no natural armor, reported her tactical officer, Kreldan. No venomous claws. No psychic abilities, no electromagnetic manipulation. Their technology is crude by our standards, still relying on projectile weapons and chemical propulsion. Zixathera's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among her kind. And their military doctrine? Primitive. They engage in face-to-face combat, often sacrificing tactical advantage for what they call honor. Their wars are brief, chaotic affairs with high casualty rates. They lack the strategic patience of civilized species? The Admiral's patches shifted to a confident golden hue. Humanity had rejected the hegemony's generous offer of protectorate status 3 times. Now they would learn the price of defying. A civilization that had conquered half the galaxy through superior intellect and overwhelming force. "Begin the demonstration," she commanded. "Target their military installations on Terra Nova. A swift surgical strike should convince them of our superiority." The hegemony fleet, 300 vessels strong, dropped out of hyperspace above Terra Nova. Zixathera expected immediate surrender. Instead, her communications officer received a brief message from the Human Defense Coordinator. "You have 30 seconds to withdraw, or we will consider this an act of war." The Admiral's patches flickered with disbelief. 30 seconds? Do they not comprehend the mathematical impossibility of their situation? But as the seconds ticked by, something unexpected happened. The orbital defense platforms, which scans had dismissed as obsolete, suddenly blazed to life. Not with energy weapons as anticipated, but with kinetic rounds that moved at relativistic speeds. 3 hegemony ships simply ceased to exist. "Impossible," Kreldan whispered. "Those projectiles were traveling at 12% light speed. Our sensors detected no energy buildup." More troubling reports flooded in. Human ships were emerging from what appeared to be empty space. Somehow they had developed stealth technology that fooled hegemony sensors. But strangest of all was their behavior. Instead of forming defensive lines as any rational species would, they were attacking. Single human vessels rammed hegemony dreadnoughts, their crews apparently choosing certain death to inflict damage. Others engaged ships 10 times their size, darting between the larger vessels like angry insects, exploiting blind spots with suicidal precision. "Admiral," came an urgent report from the fleet's periphery. "We're detecting massive gravitational anomalies. Multiple human fleets are emerging from—" The communication cut to static. On the tactical display, 60 hegemony ships on the fleet's edge simply vanished. Not destroyed. Vanished. Zixathera's patches had turned the pale blue of fear. "How? Many human vessels?" "Unknown, Admiral. They appear to be using some form of dimensional manipulation. Our long-range sensors are completely compromised." What the hegemony didn't understand was that humanity had spent the last century preparing for this moment. Every rejected diplomatic overture had bought them time. Time to study hegemony technology, from captured probes. Time to develop countermeasures. Time to prepare. Dr. Sarah Chen, architect of humanity's war doctrine, had studied every hegemony conquest. She had noticed a pattern. The aliens relied on technological superiority and psychological warfare. They expected rational opponents, who would surrender when faced with impossible odds. Humanity was not rational by galactic standards. The human fleet that emerged from folded space wasn't larger than the hegemony force. It was smaller. But every ship had been designed for one purpose: to inflict maximum damage while sustaining maximum punishment. They had no shields because they planned to be shot. They had minimal life support because their crews expected to die. Captain Rodriguez of the UES Thermopylae spoke calmly into his comm as his ship plowed through a formation of hegemony cruisers, its hull breached in 14 places. Remember, people, we're not trying to win today. We're teaching them that attacking humanity costs more than they're willing to pay. His ship's reactor went critical, taking 3 enemy vessels with it. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human ships fought with a ferocity that defied mathematical modeling. They used tactics that no sane species would employ: ramming maneuvers, kamikaze runs, boarding actions launched from crippled vessels. But it was the second wave that truly shattered hegemony comprehension. As their fleet struggled against humanity's seemingly suicidal assault, new contacts appeared on sensors, hundreds of them, thousands. "Admiral," Kreldan's voice had risen to a panicked trill. "We're detecting incoming fleets from all 12 human systems. Estimated arrival time, 6 hours. Zixthara stared at the tactical display in growing horror. "That's impossible. No species commits their entire military to a single engagement. What about defending their worlds?" She was thinking like a hegemony commander. Cautious, calculating, rational. She didn't understand that humanity had made a collective decision in those 3 diplomatic rejections. If the hegemony wanted war, they would get war. Not the limited surgical conflicts that galactic civilization was accustomed to, but total war. Every human world had stripped its defenses. Every ship that could mount a weapon was en route to Terra Nova. Civilian vessels carried experimental weapons. Mining craft had been converted to missile platforms. Even the generation ships, humanity's seedlings sent to distant stars, had turned around and were burning toward the battle. As the scope of humanity's response became clear, Zixthara finally understood the intelligence failure. Her analysts had been correct. Humans were weak, individually. They had no natural weapons, no psychic powers, no overwhelming technological advantages. But they had something the hegemony had never encountered: the willingness to risk extinction for the chance to hurt their enemies. The battle for Terra Nova lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the hegemony fleet was destroyed. The human fleet was also destroyed, along with Terra Nova itself. Humanity had detonated the planet's core rather than let it fall. The surviving hegemony ships limped home with a message that would change galactic politics forever. Humanity doesn't fight wars. Humanity fights apocalypses. And they're perfectly willing to lose as long as you lose more. Admiral Zixthara spent her remaining years in a psychiatric facility, her bioluminescent patches permanently stuck on the pale blue of terror. She would mumble the same phrase repeatedly. They were weak, but they chose to be strong. The hegemony never attacked another human world. Some wars, they realized, simply cost too much to win.